Sharada, thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce yourself fully, tell us about your work, and please tell us a story.
Yes. Good evening, esteemed audience, and a big thank you to Eric for being gracious enough to allow me to tell a story. So, have you seen huge big black holes, spinning, envisioning? Have you envisioned those black holes in your head? Have you ever experienced how it is to go in an ambulance battling for life? Have you experienced how you feel when someone comes to you and tells you that you just had a new lease of life? You had been saved miraculously? Only when you experience a tryst with death will you know that you have to cherish life, people, relationships, time. Just like how there is a day and night, joy and sorrow, happiness and sadness, there is also life and death. So, welcome to my story. It was a very casual weekend morning, and I was suddenly woken up by something warm. And I opened my eyes and I realized that the warm yellow rays of the sunlight were wafting through my bedroom window in between, from the gaps of the curtains. It was a beautiful sight to look at. But it was normal, isn't it? This happens every day. And I also observed the floating dust particles, that stood suspended. They were floating through the rays of the sunlight there. So I quickly got up, but somehow that day I did not feel too well. I did not have the same energy that I used to have every day. I dragged myself to the washroom, and quickly after that, I walked into the living room to find my husband already up and he was reading the morning newspaper. I went to the kitchen and switched on my radio. Namaskara Bengaluru rattled off the Bangalore FM, and I switched on the electric kettle and took out my coffee powder and quickly started brewing my coffee decoction. And soon, with the two coffee cups in my hand, I went to the living room and offered one to my husband, and I sat on my favorite couch with my cup of coffee. So we had a very short chat, and it was usual that every day, we both would go on our morning walk to the nearby park. But that particular day, somehow, I did not feel like going. So my husband decided to go, while I stayed back and continued my morning household chores. So as soon as I opened my refrigerator to take out things which I needed to cook my breakfast, I felt a stabbing, a piercing, severe pain in my lower abdomen. And I immediately, hugged my legs and sat down near the refrigerator, pressing my legs into my stomach, hoping that this pain would subside. But then the pain started dancing with frequencies. It went up and down and up and down and up and down, and it never stopped. And soon I was so grateful that my husband returned back from his walk quickly that day, somehow. And I told him about this, and he offered to do the breakfast for the morning while I went to my bed to rest for a while. And as I closed my eyes, in a short while, I started getting these huge spirals in my mind. They were looking like big, huge black holes, that started swirling and swirling and swirling, just like the way I put my hand blender into my curd to churn my buttermilk. It was such a huge black colored black hole. And I started going into it. Nobody was there to hold me back or stop me from going into this black hole. I kept going and going and going, and there was no end to this black hole. And soon I started getting visions of my mother, my father, the child when I was young, my newborn's face, the day my husband and I got married. Such visions started appearing on my mind. After a while, I opened my eyes and saw that my husband, my sister, who had actually come to visit us during that time, and my daughter, everybody were hovering around me, looking into me, shaking me up, trying to wake me. And that was when I realized that I was actually becoming unconscious. So as soon as I saw them, I happened to just mutter these words, Dr. Hema Divakar. She was a very famous practicing gynecologist at that time in Bangalore. So I muttered these words, and soon I guess I might have lost my consciousness again. And again, when I opened my eyes, I saw that I was traveling in a long vehicle kind of a thing, which should have been an ambulance, because that was how I have seen an ambulance in the movies. So there were wires, and there were a few nurses who were standing there, and I realized that I started finding it very difficult to breathe. I literally had to take you know, a lot of effort. I had to take a lot of effort to breathe. And I found that someone was trying to fix some mask into my face. The next time I opened my eyes, I saw everything was white. There were white beds all around, and I could hear plenty of BP, heart rate, pulse rate monitors beeping around, and low whispers. And that was when I realized that I was inside the ICU of a hospital. And in a couple of minutes, someone just came close to my face and stroked my head and said, "Welcome back to life, my dear." And that was my doctor, Dr. Hema Divakar. And now she became my storyteller. She told me that when I arrived at the hospital, I was totally battling for life, breathing so hard. And, she had to literally push me into the operation theater, and she had to pick her operating scissors and rip apart my night dress in order to operate on me, in order to open me up. She told me that my husband had struggled so much to carry me from the first floor of my home to the ambulance. I have always been on the healthier side, you see. And she told me that I had had a fallopian tube burst. I had been 3 months pregnant, and the fetus had been growing inside my fallopian tube. And it was a time when the fetus was too big for the fallopian tube to withstand. And that's how the burst happened. And I had internal bleeding where I had lost close to 5 liters of blood, which is approximately the quantity of blood in a human body. So finally, she told me that she was able to save my life. So today also, I'm ever grateful to my husband, my family members, my doctor, and all the good gods who protected me, the good angels who protected me at that point of time. So that was how I had a rebirth or a fresh lease of life. So this was my story. Now, why I wanted to share this personal story with you? You know, there is a certain beauty in death. They say, I have also read, and my grandfather and grandmother have also told me that before a person dies, he or she gets flashbacks in his mind on his deathbed. You know, they are considered as mementos or little gifts which life gives us as a parting gift or a memento before we leave this world, so that we are able to drift away peacefully to the other end of the tunnel, or the black hole. So these flashbacks, I want to cite some examples. As I had already mentioned, your mother's face, your mother's warm hug, your father's proud smile when you had told him about your first job, or his proud smile on the day of your graduation. But my question here is, what if these flashbacks which you have on your deathbed don't make you feel good enough? You get my question, right? What if these flashbacks do not make you feel good enough when you are going to die? So that's when there is a tug of war between life and death. You will never have a choice. If you are destined to die, you are going to die, isn't it? But still, there is a dire hope which arises inside you that, I just want to do this, I just want to do that before I die. In our life, in each one of our lives, we all take so many different roles and responsibilities. I am a mother, I am a daughter in law, a wife, a sister, a teacher, a counselor, a friend, a well wisher, a caretaker, and a worker at home. So many different things, roles in life we all play, isn't it? And gradually and slowly, what happens, this gets monotonous. And we somewhere, forget to cherish what we go through. We forget to cherish. And somewhere, as a student, as a child, we would have journaled all our dreams, desires, how we want to live our life later on, and what are the dreams we would like to achieve when we grow older. But somewhere, all this gets lost, and we forget that we had actually written a journal about these things in our life. So while I was preparing for this session, I happened to come across a paragraph which I think I must share with you. So, which has greatly touched upon me. This was written by a person called Mr. Mukunda Rajan. And please listen to this and please understand what he has written. The graveyard the world's most valuable real estate, where million dreams lie buried in the company of unpublished books, unrealized dreams and tasks, and unstarted businesses. Because we lived to compete and survive instead of living to blossom the fragrant flowers of our talents and aspirations until death snatched us away in its cruel grip. We waited for the right moment to do what we always wanted to do until that moment never came. Entangled always in life and work, we forget that we are mortal. Alas, we died empty because none can postpone the tryst with death. So, I, after this incident, really started cherishing the relationships around me, the people around me, my time, my money, everything I encountered. I started looking at it slowly and with joy. So, before I end, I would like to just share a few pointers, just a little inspiration for all of us to see and cherish life better. Begin a 30-day life challenge. Do something that you always wanted to do. Turn off all the negative voices in your head. Overcome all your fears. See beauty in everything you do. Create aha moments in your life wherever you go. Return to your roots and celebrate your roots. And get inspired in unexpected ways in your life. Thank you so much. Eric, I think I finished.
Well, I want to thank you so much. Does anyone want to say anything before we let Sharada finish?
It was an inspiring story. And I really loved that you tried to leave us with, inspiration. Go out and embrace your life, take your life, right? But the line that struck me the most was, only when you have had a tryst with death can you experience life. I thought that was like, we have to understand we will die before we can truly live. I mean, that's great. That's something to take with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Rachel?
Wow. I loved the way you started. Have you ever been in a black hole? Have you ever, those questions were very provocative. And indeed, I was in a life-threatening accident, so I could relate to that. And you described your experiences step by step in such a vivid way, but one that was not self-pitying. And I was there with you, feeling what was going on and appreciating the ordinariness of the actions you were trying to take and the extraordinary of what was going on inside your body. and your experience of at first not understanding what was going on and how you made sense of this experience was so real. And that takes artistry to be able to convey. And then when you thanked everyone, that was so real. And yet, even though I had that profoundly life-threatening experience, I have forgotten to be thankful for everything. And so this is a wonderful reminder and challenge for me.
Thank
You told it beautifully, and you made a powerful experience, one which everyone can relate to, even if they have not had a life-threatening experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, Sharada, thank you so very much. And now we'll stop recording.